happy Halloween, everyone. We should have started with that.
Welcome to Rowdy Book Club. I am Shannon. My pronouns are she, her, and I am one of your co-hosts.
And hello, my name is Michael, and my pronouns are he, him, and I am your other co-host.
Are you so proud of me for finally doing it right?
I am. We actually sort of got through that. I mean, we did get through that.
We
didn't
did
stumble.
it. We did it.
Episode 4.
Yay.
Not stumbling. Hey Shannon, how are you?
I'm pretty good. How are you?
Yeah? I'm good. I think I'm good. I was just going to say, this week felt like weird and long, and now this weekend just feels kind of weird.
Yeah.
But
it's the fall coming in hot.
Yep. And
it really is coming in hot here. Like, September's the hottest month in LA, and it's technically October now, but like, summer's got like one last heat wave in it, and it's like, hi, I'm 92 degrees, so it's 92 degrees here. So that's fun and great. And I'm in the sweaty closet.
We had a cold front on Thursday, and it got like super cold and chilly, and now today it's also very warm here.
Huh. Well, I hope it just starts being cold, because I love cold weather a lot.
I do too, and
you've come around?
Yes,
because you used to hate the cold.
Yep. No, I do. The other day I was just thinking, I was like, you know what? I love seasons. Like, I love that it gets hot, and some people like hate the heat. I love the heat, and I've come to appreciate. I mean, I've always loved fall because it's just nice, but it's the winter that I don't love. But even now I'm like, you know what? I'm ready for snow. Like, my dog is going to love it.
Oh, yeah.
So I'll love it. I feel like, you know, like when you're an adult and you're just like, holidays and like Christmas and Halloween isn't like as fun as it is when you're a kid. But then you have kids and you're like, oh, now I love the holidays because I get to watch my kids be excited.
Yeah.
I now love the snow because I get to watch my dog be excited about the snow.
That's great. I love that.
Yep.
Good old dogs. Good old children who only exist so that you can live vicariously through them.
Yep.
I love all of that. I mean, the weather in LA is like pretty consistent all the time, and I definitely miss. There are so many times, this would happen to me sometimes in Utah where like, if it was like fall or spring, sometimes I'd get confused about what time of the year it was, because I was like, wait, is it getting hotter or is it getting colder?
Yeah.
Are we going, and I feel that way now constantly. I'm just like, what time is it? Are we going into slightly hotter or slightly colder time? Does it matter? Is time a flat circle? Is anything real? I don't know. Yep. It really throws me off, but whatever.
Well, and you only have like a 30-degree variation, right? It only ever gets down to like 60, right?
Yeah, pretty much. We don't really get winter here. We just have like 6 months of fall.
Okay.
So,
that's nice.
Which I'm not, I love fall, so I'm not really complaining, but yeah.
But it is nice. I mean, I like the cold and the snow, like, exclusively in December. I'm like, ooh, it's Christmas time. We're in it. But then after that, I'm like, okay, I'm done.
January 3rd, you're like, no, snow is done.
Yeah.
And by the time you get to February, you're like,
it's
bye.
Wet and cold and slushy.
Yes.
Yeah, and then they just like scrape all of the parking lots and put the snow into giant piles, and then you will just see like giant mud puddle icebergs in the middle of the parking lot until like March.
Yep, it's true.
Yep.
Do you have any recommendations or other things you want to share before we jump into our book?
Recommendations. You know what? It kind of is a recommendation. Something I am loving right now is another podcast. So I'm just going to make this plug. So do you know Wonderful?
Yes. I've listened to a couple episodes.
So yeah, obviously Shannon and I are big fans of the McElroy brothers, and we listen to My Brother, and Me a lot. The youngest brother, Griffin McElroy, has a podcast with his wife called Wonderful.
Wife.
And
sorry, I had to like do that as a shout out to them or something. / I just do it. It just happens. It's because of them, which I know they're just like ripping off. What's it called? Borat. But but yeah, it's bad. It's a brain worm.
It is.
Anyway, his wife what?
Yeah, he has a podcast called Wonderful with his wife where they just like every week talk for a little bit about something that they love, and I listen to a lot of I mean, well, no, just kind of media in general nowadays. Like, people aren't afraid to talk about things that they're not happy with, which is good. Like, I think it's, like, we don't need to be positive all the time if you're not feeling positive. That's okay. But I also do find it refreshing now when people are like, let's just talk about things that we love, you know?
Yeah.
So, that's a good one that I've been listening to a lot.
Nice. I love that. I've really only listened to, like, maybe 3 or 4, but it's a cute podcast. I will say, so, okay, a little backstory here. When I was on my study abroad in Jerusalem, we had a chance to play, like, church bells at the YMCA, which is really random. Why does the YMCA have church bells? I don't know. It's Jerusalem. It's the holy city. Like, yeah, anyway. And so, you know, I was listening to Adventure Zone, like the balance arc, like that was, it was coming out while I was there. And so I was like really into it. And like those two things are kind of connected in my mind because we'd go on these long bus trips and you're just sitting on the bus for like 2-3 hours, perfect time to listen to a podcast. And so I was listening to Adventure Zone and I wrote an arrangement of Crystal Kingdom to be played on the carillon, which is like the bell tower. And so I did that and I recorded it and I posted it on YouTube and it has almost 600,000 views, which is very cool.
How have you never told me about this?
I don't know. I thought, I don't know. Well, anyway, so it's my like 15 minutes of internet fame. But, so that's all the backstory. There, on an episode of Wonderful, Griffin talks about how much he loves carillons and how he thinks they're really cool. And,
what?
And I have been, but the thing is he doesn't really use social media anymore, which like good for him. Yeah. But I'm like, I need this man to see that I did a video. I made a carillon arrangement of a song he wrote. Like, I want him to see it. I don't know how to make it happen. I've like tweeted at him, but I don't really use Twitter either. So I like don't know how to do it. I don't know if it's a good way to do it. But yeah, I've tried to share it with him. I don't think he's ever seen it, but
Dang it.
I think he would really like it. And like, so I guess if anyone's ever listening to this and like knows him, or if Griffin McElroy is listening to this, please listen to my freaking carillon arrangement of Crystal Kingdom. You'll love it. So that's my PSA, I guess. So that's cool. I like your recommendation.
Yeah. What about you?
I have a recommendation for, this is a book I just read. So I know we're a book podcast, but we pretty much just do like fiction. And I actually mostly read/listen to nonfiction. And so I just finished this book called Ghosts of the Tsunami. And it's about the aftermath of the 2011 tsunami that hit Japan. And the way it was advertised to me was that, like, after the tsunami, people just, like, started seeing lots of ghosts or, like, being possessed by, like, kind of spirits of people who had died in the tsunami. And I thought it was mostly going to be about that, of like, oh, like, you know, here's all these different stories of people. And like, that's in there and that's definitely part of it. But the focus of the book is actually on this school where everyone died. Everyone was hit by the tsunami and died. And it was kind of about the parents trying to make sense of what happened. And like, and it's unusual because in Japan, like, they're very accustomed to disasters, including tsunami. And all of the other schools were able to evacuate safely. And there's only like one other school child who had been at school that died in the tsunami, other than this school where almost all of the students died.
Oh, weird.
Yeah.
So what happened? Why weren't they able to evacuate?
Well, I don't know. Should I be like, read the book and find out? Or, I mean, I guess, yeah, read the book and find out. Maybe I'll tell you, Michael, and then just cut it out. Okay. So that is my recommendation, Ghosts of the Tsunami. If you like nonfiction reading, which I do, it was very good, very well written. I loved the way it was like structured, and yeah.
Nice. Cool.
Okay, should we talk about our book? Should we get spooky?
Let's talk about the book.
Let's get spooky up in here.
Yeah, so listeners, if you didn't listen to last month's episode, we read The Phantom of the Opera. So, we wanted to get spooky for Halloween.
Heck yeah.
It was spooky. And Shannon, are you going to give us a little summary of what goes on in The Phantom of the Opera?
Yes. I will say that if you are familiar with like the musical, I was actually surprised at how faithful the musical is to the book. I thought it was going to be like really different. And it is definitely not perfectly one-to-one, but like I feel like sometimes adaptations, they really take their liberties, but I feel like the plot is pretty similar.
I would say for the most part, I would say they definitely made the Phantom a lot hotter in the movie.
Uh-huh. Yes. Oh, yeah. Yeah, I was going to say, I feel like that's the big difference is the Phantom is very sexy in Andrew Lloyd Webber's musical, and he is not sexy in this book at all. But that's okay.
He's a stinky skeleton boy.
He's got stinky hands.
He's a stinky.
Okay, well, but let's do a proper summary in case you've somehow made it through your whole life. You've never heard of the Phantom of the Opera. You never heard the music. You don't know anything about it. So, Phantom of the Opera is about a spooky man with stinky death hands who lives in the basement of an opera house in Paris. He falls madly in love with one of the singers there named Christine Daae, and he decides to take her under his wing and teach her how to sing better. And meanwhile, Christine is Swedish, and her dad was a violinist, and he died. And when he was dying, he was like, "Oh, the angel of music, like, when I die, I'll send you the angel of music, and he will teach you how to be a good singer." And she was like, "Okay." So then he dies, and she's very sad. But then she starts hearing this voice in the opera house that's like, "Yeah, I'm the angel of music. What's good, sis? Like, let's learn some singing." And so she gets good at singing. It's just like that. That's a quote, actually. And so, and all of that's going well and good until the Vicomte de Chagny, Raoul Vicomte de Chagny. I guess de Chagny is his last name. I don't know, whatever. He's a French nobleman's brother, which I think also makes him noble. That part wasn't clear to me. Anyway, he enters the picture, and he remembers Christine from their childhood because they had been like friends, even though he's like a noble, rich, aristocratic boy. He's more of a boy, let's be real. I think Christine and Raoul are both like 19 in this book.
Yeah, and they're young.
Very young. And here's what I will say to their credit, or to the author's credit, they act like fun teens. And, good job there. Like, they are total, like, teenagers the whole time. And I think that was actually good. So he sees her, and he's like, gee, she sings so pretty, and I remember her. I was in love with her as a kid, and, like, now's my chance, gotta shoot my shot. And she's just like, "Oh, hey, I'm not really interested because I'm in love with the angel music. Okay, bye." And he's like, "What? Huh?" And he like follows her to her dressing room, and then he listens in, and he hears like a spooky man talking to her, and he's like, "OMG, what a slut. Bye." And then he's like really offended. But then all this drama happens. I don't know. There's a very long like will she won't she sort of thing with them where she's like, "Oh, Raoul, like I love you." Oh, and then like the next day she's like, "Raoul, never speak to me again." It's very dramatic, very teenager. And Raoul's like, "What's going on? Who's this stinky man in your life?" And then they like pretend to be engaged to each other, and then Christine reveals to him that the Phantom of the Opera is this angel of music that's been singing to her, and he's just this stinky, gross man who lives underneath the opera house in, like, this little house by a lake. Is this normal? French listeners, weigh in. Let me know. What's the deal with these catacombs?
Underground lakes?
Yeah, like, what is that? Anyway, so he, like, took her down to his lair, and he was like, "OMG, like, we're gonna be lovers forever, except that I'm ugly and you hate me." And she's like, "Oh, okay, you've got a lot going on, brother," like, and she's just, like, kind of uncomfortable, / also, like, pretty much kidnapped, and is, like, very not cool, and she's kind of scared of him, but things are, like, mostly okay. Like, he's kind of a gentleman, and by he's kind of a gentleman, I mean he does not take this opportunity to, sexually assault her, which, I mean, that's good. I'm glad he didn't do that. But he's also like, "You can't leave." And she's like, what? And then he's like, "Actually, you can leave after 2 weeks if you don't take off my mask." And she's like, "Okay." And then they're singing, and then she's just like, "And then I took off his mask." And it's like, you had one job. Yeah. So.
Okay, but I mean, like, put yourself in her situation. You're kidnapped by this guy who has like a super hot voice but stinky gross hands, and then he's like, hey, I'm gonna wear this mask all the time, do not take it off. Like, I would have so many questions.
Yeah, there are so many questions, and we can get into that later. Meanwhile, I have to talk about these other two guys that, like, mercifully the musical mostly cuts them down, but like it's a big focus in the book.
Oh yeah,
is the two managers who are running the opera. So they're taking over from the old managers, and they're like, oh, by the way, our opera's haunted and you have to pay him 20,000 francs a month. And they're like, ha ha ha, nice prank, lol. And they're like, no, what? We're not pranking you. Like, you have to pay him 20,000 francs. And they're like, what? And so there's just really this long drawn out thing of like, we don't want to pay him 20,000 francs. And then they like get the lady who runs the box or like cleans up the box that he always wants, Madame Jury. She's like seems to be in on it, and she's like, no, like I just do what the opera ghost tells me. Like he says that my daughter Meg will be the empress of I don't know what, just the empress if I get, you know, if I help him out in the box. And then they're like, no, you're full of it, you're fired. And because they fire her, then at the next opera performance, everything goes horribly wrong because the Phantom hasn't been paid. His box isn't empty like he wants it to be. The box being like a special seat, you know, it's like private, it's fancy, and so he puts a thing. Well, actually, it's not clear in the musical. He like puts a weird thing in her like mouth perfume. I don't know what that is.
You're talking about Carlotta.
I'm talking about Carlotta. Yeah. So, like, the prima donna that he hates, La Carlotta, the best character in the musical, but she's not really in the book that much. No. He puts some weird drops in her, like, cough syrup or whatever that they spray in her mouth in the musical, and it makes her sing like a toad. But I think in the book it's different. I think in the book he is just such a good ventriloquist that he throws his voice right as she's singing, so she thinks that she is singing and it sounds like a toad. Yeah. Is that what you got, Michael? I was a little confused there.
100%. He straight up in the book, he's like, I invented throwing your voice, yes, and I'm so good at it. Listen to me do it. And then he does it, and it's like a weird flex. And then he like explains how he did it to Carlotta. But yeah, like apparently threw his voice so well that she like even thought it was coming out of her mouth.
Yeah.
And then
yeah.
Like, the entire opera house was like, oh my gosh, she sounds like a frog, or whatever. And then it, like, embarrassed her, and she, like, never sings again.
Yeah.
Like, what?
Yeah, that's so funny. I mean, it's especially funny to me, like, here's, you know, so much for me being a mysterious person. I've talked about my study abroad, and now I'm going to talk about how I am a classically trained soprano. And I will say that I can tell if the voice that I'm hearing is coming out of my body. Like... I think maybe that's why they changed it in the musical, because like all these people are like musicians and they're like, what? That would never work. Let's put some weird, I mean, like, do you get sprayed with cough syrup before you sing? No, not to my knowledge, but maybe, I don't know. I am definitely an amateur. I don't know how real opera singers do. Anyway, yeah, and so she sings like a toad, and then he makes the chandelier crash down, and it kills the lady who would have replaced Madame Jury. And so the managers are like, oh, okay, I guess, Madame Jury, you can be in charge again, do your thing, But then they still kind of think it's fake, and they, like, don't fully believe in it. And they never fully believe in it. Like, they never come around to being like, oh, this guy's real and he's a problem. So... there's this like, oh my gosh, it's so annoying too, because and I know he just did it to like ramp up the drama, because it's like all this crazy stuff happens with Christine, and then it's like the next chapter it's like, oh, these two buffoons are trying to figure out where their money is. Like, ugh, I don't care. But yeah, anyway, so back to Christine and the most important part of the story. So she tells Raoul all this, and he's like, OMG, that's messed up, we should leave right now. And then Christine is like, no, I kind of feel bad for him. You should let me sing for him one more time, because so like dumb. I really feel bad for him. And he's like, okay. And so they go to the next performance the next night. And it's also heavily implied, I know in like other adaptations you'll like see the Phantom having like watched this whole conversation, but in the book I think it's just kind of implied that the Phantom is aware of this conversation. Yeah. And so this next day, Christine is singing, and right as she like finishes her aria, the lights go off. The lights turn off. The lights go out. I was going to be really dramatic, and then I forgot how English works as a language. Anyway, all the lights go off, it's black, and then the lights come back on, and Christine is gone. She's been vanished off the stage. And Raoul is like, oh no, the Phantom got her! Just like I thought would happen! Just like everyone thought would happen! Just like we all knew would happen! And yeah, she got. And at this point, the police come, and they think that Raoul did it for some reason. And the managers are too busy being worried about the Franks to even, like, realize that their freaking star soprano just got vanished off the freaking stage in front of everyone. Like, seriously, the police comes in and he's like, hey, so what's the deal with the soprano? And they're like, huh? What? What are you talking about? And the cop is like, are you kidding me? It's so weird. But anyway, so Raoul is, like, freaking out. And then the cop, like, goads him into, like, chasing after his brother or something. I don't know, some weird thing. And as he's like running out, because Raoul is like really young and stupid, so he just makes a lot of dumb mistakes. But it's at this point that we are this is like 70% of the way into the book, that we are finally introduced to the true protagonist of the Phantom of the Opera, which is, of course, the Persian. And I love the Persian. He's such a great character. He's the only character in this book who makes any sense. And even he's kind of a dramatic B, but I love him.
But at least he's not, like, a complete idiot. Like, everyone else is so dumb.
Right. And I feel like he's kind of... It's not so much that he's, like, dumb or gullible as he's, like, I know you owe me and I owe you. And it's kind of like... It's kind of like when you have, like, a child who's always getting up to trouble and, like, you can't just disown them. I don't know. I feel like he just, like, kind of views the Phantom as his responsibility. And so he's like, all right, come on, Raoul, let's go deal with this. And so they go and they're, like, traversing the dungeons underneath the opera house, which why does an opera house need a bunch of dungeons? I don't know. I don't know how they do it in France. And so there's a lot of shenanigans. They get stuck in a torture chamber. Well, what?
It's because, I mean, and you'll maybe get to this later, but the Phantom built the opera house.
What? Oh, is that in the book? Did I miss that?
Did you?
Maybe I did. This is the thing. When I listen to audiobooks, I definitely do not get as much information.
Yeah, he built the opera house.
Gosh. Okay, that explains so much.
He's like this amazing architect that they talk about at the very end of the book.
I knew that. I just didn't realize that he built the opera house.
Yeah, they I think, I can't remember exactly how it goes, but I think the opera house, started being built, and then they, had to pause construction or something like that. But since he was, this amazing architect anyway, he was like, whatever, I'll just keep, secretly making all these weird things underneath it. So that's why he, knows every nook and cranny of the opera house, because he built it. Okay,
that makes a lot of sense. That makes... a lot of sense. Okay, great. Well, I'm glad that I know that and understand that now. So, yeah, so Daroga... Oh, and that's what the Phantom refers to him, Daroga, which I guess is a Persian word for, sheriff or deputy or, a cop or something.
Oh, I did not know that.
Yeah.
I thought that was just his name.
No. Yeah, I think it's a title. And I think he's saying it sort of cheekily because the whole thing with the Persian is that the reason he's living in France is not just to keep an eye on Eric, but it is kind of because of Eric. Oh, by the way, Eric is the name of the Phantom. Did I say that? I don't think I did. Anyway, the Phantom's name is Eric. So Eric the Phantom lived in Persia for a while, and then he built this, cool castle for the Shah that had, all these, secret tunnels and stuff, so the Shah could, get up to shenanigans, as you do when you're a leader of a nation state. And then the Shah was like, oh, well, now I have to kill him because he knows my secrets. And then the Persian, Daroga, steps in and is like, oh, maybe you should just not do that. And so he helps Eric get away or something. And they all know that it's him, and so he's banished forever. But they still give him, money, which is great. Hashtag universal basic income. Let's do it. So he moves to Paris because he knows that's where Eric went, and he's trying to keep an eye on him. And also in the book, the reason why he doesn't get a name is because the frame story is that the author, Gaston Leroux, is a reporter, and he's telling about things that happen. And so he has to protect the identity of the Persian. And so he's because he doesn't want the Persian to get in trouble for what he shares, which, I mean, we can talk about that later, but that is the in-universe explanation for why we don't know what his name is.
Yeah.
So anyway, they're in the torture chamber, and then they finally get out, and then the Phantom is, like, freaking out, and he's like, Christine, you have to decide if you're gonna marry me, and if you don't marry me, I'm gonna blow up the opera house! And she's like, oh gosh, this is a lot of pressure. And he's like, I know you're not gonna want to marry me because I'm an ugly, stinky man. And she's like, oh, I don't know what to do. And then, I don't know, I feel like Raoul and the Daroga are just kind of, like, watching. They don't, like, do anything. And so, but then, and there's, like, this weird thing with, like, a pigeon. No, with a scorpion and a... What is the other thing? A frog? What is it?
A scorpion and a grasshopper.
Grasshopper. And it's, like, if you pick one, then we'll get married and I won't blow up the opera house. But if you pick the other one, you will blow up the opera house. And then Raoul and the Persian are like, no, he's flipped it. He's trying to trick you. But then he wasn't trying to trick her. I don't know. That part was weird, too. But anyway... She decides, she's like, no, Phantom, Eric, I will just be with you. Don't blow anyone up. And so then he doesn't blow anyone up. And then Raoul and the Persian wake up and everything is they're being healed and Christine is just taking care of them. And then what happens after that? I know what happens, like, I know what happens 2 steps later, but I don't know what happens the next step. Well, anyway, so Raoul and the Daroga go free. And then, like, a couple weeks pass and... He's, like, freaking out. Like, the Persian is like, oh my gosh, where's Christine? Like, what's going on? Like, what has the Phantom done? Like, And then Eric just, like, shows up at his house and he's like, I'm dying. And he's like, what? Where's Christine? What are you doing? He's like, don't worry about that. I'm dying. And he's like, shut up. Where's Christine? What is going on? Like, Daroga is, like, so freaking over it at this point, and Eric is just being, like, so dramatic. And he's like, I'm gonna die of a broken heart. And the Persian is like, if you don't tell me what you did to Christine Daae, I'm gonna murder you right now with my bare hands. And Eric is finally like, oh no, she's fine because... She kissed me on the forehead and it gave me so much love in my whole body. I couldn't even handle it. And I told her that she was free to go and to just, like, come back and bury me when I die. And then we'll be cool. And so she went off and she and Raoul are getting married or something. He's like, but more importantly, I'm dying of a broken heart. Isn't that sad? And the Persian's like, oh, she's alive. Okay, good. Yeah, what? You're dying? Huh? Okay. Like, he's just so over it, but he's like, okay, I'm glad that Christine is safe. That's the important thing. And so they all live happily ever after, except the Phantom, who does in fact die. And... Like
a couple weeks later.
Yeah, he really takes his sweet time. And then I think the Persian's just, like, straight chilling. Raoul and Christine are married, but it's, like, secret. And, like, I don't know. And yeah. And that's the Phantom of the Opera.
And that is it. That's it.
That is it. Okay, Michael, you got the goods? You did some research?
I did some research on Gaston, the author, and he actually was inspired to write The Phantom of the Opera because of, hey y'all, I don't speak French, so...
I can't wait.
If I butcher this...
Destroy it.
Destroy it. Let's see... So he was working as an editor, is that it? At the time that this happened, but there was this opera house called the Palais Garnier. I'm not sure if I said that right. Sorry if I just destroyed your ears, people that speak French. But
it's fine.
Anyway, so this was a real opera house, and people were always saying that it was haunted, and so, like, this was already kind of like a story that he just kind of, like, ripped off. But the whole, like, chandelier falling and killing the concierge woman actually happened. Did you know
wasn't
that,
it like her first day of work?
Yes, literally.
Oh my gosh, that sucks. Yeah. Can you imagine?
Yeah. So apparently there was, like, a fire in the roof somewhere or something like that, and it, like, melted the, like, wire cords that were holding the weighted balance for the chandelier, and so it, like, snapped, and then the balance, I don't know.
Wait, so was it the weight or the chandelier?
I don't know.
Oh, okay.
It was the weight itself. that fell down, and it injured some people, but it only killed one person. This lady who was the concierge, watching her first opera.
Welcome to the opera.
Welcome.
Frickin' sucks.
Yeah. Yeah, when you read that in the book, that part is like a true story in this book. Anyway, so then he took the story of like a haunted opera house. He was like, ooh, what if there was this like guy that was terrorizing like the cast and the opera itself and stuff like that. So he did that. When he wrote this book in 1910, I believe it was, it like wasn't really popular at all. It wasn't until 1925 when an actor whose name I cannot find or remember.
Is it Lon Chaney?
They made like a silent black and white film. Oh my gosh. Okay. I thought I was going to be providing information.
Well, I don't know. I feel like the Lon Chaney Phantom of the Opera is like a classic of like horror film. It's like one of the like oldest horror films ever made. Oh. Apparently, like when people saw his like face revealed, they were like freaking out and like passing out in the theater, which I just think is so cute. I shouldn't think it's cute, but it's like they weren't like desensitized to like horror stuff from when they were like 5 years old, you know? Like I feel like as a 5-year-old you like you're just flipping through the channels and then you see like an axe murderer.
Like, someone is
but like imagine being like a 40-year-old right. You've never seen anything like that. You go and just like see a guy's like spooky messed up face and you're like, nope. Bye. Can't handle it. To like, live in a earlier time, I guess.
Yeah. But anyway, so that's when the story Phantom of the Opera like became more popular and people liked it more. And then it wasn't until Mr. Andrew in 1986. Lord Andy. Hey,
why?
I've never said this to you, but I hate saying his full name. I feel like I trip over the words. Like I can't say it fast. Like I have to say
Andrew Lloyd Webber 5 times fast.
I can't do it. Andrew Lloyd Webber. I don't know why it's so hard for me. Anyway, so yeah, in '86 he did, the musical movie adaptation that we all know.
Mm-hmm.
And that's when it became like really big. That's when I first, obviously didn't hear about it then, but like the musical movie was
the 2004 Joel Schumacher.
Yeah. Based off of his music and stuff. Which, by the way, I've always thought like listening to the soundtrack, I'm like, man,
right. That like guitar riff
in the 80s.
Yes. Oh my gosh.
And
I've never seen Phantom of the Opera like on stage. I really want to, but I just like never have had the opportunity, I guess. But I really want to. Have you seen it? No, I haven't. When I first saw the movie, it was because my grandmother and my cousin were like singing it all the time, and they were like, "Oh, it's so good," blah 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 blah. And so I finally watched it, and I was like, "Hey, y'all. Why do we like this? This is weird. This is creepy. This guy is kidnapping this girl. Why do we love this movie so much?" I've always thought it was weird. I've never been a huge fan. Like, I love the music. Yeah.
It's so good.
Yeah.
But never actually really liked this story. And then reading this book, I was like, oh yeah, I super don't like this.
Yeah, it's so funny. And I think that really is key. Like, the music in it is really good. And I think that really, like, is what makes people like it. I will say, like, from my own experience, because so it came out in 2004, but I didn't see it until maybe, like, a year or two later. So I was, like, a teenager, like, a preteen. And when I saw it, I don't know, I feel like it was just like the ultimate sexiness when you're like 13 years old is like, because I feel like as like a 13-year-old girl raised in like our heteronormative society, there's just like this idea of like, ooh, a boy is interested in you. Like that in itself is valuable. It doesn't even matter if he's like a creepy old man who's as old as your dad and also has like a messed up face. Like, just like, it's sexy to have someone be interested in you, you know? And I just remember, like, all of us, like, in my ward, because we all, like, watched it together one night, and I was just, like, riveted, and we all loved it, and it was just, like, we were all just, like, rooting for the Phantom, because, let's be honest, the Raoul in that movie has a Brigham Young haircut.
Oh my gosh, he does look like little Brigham Young.
He looks like little Brigham Young, which is not sexy at all.
No, it's very not sexy.
Yeah.
And okay, one thing I did actually really like about reading the book is you get, like, in the movie, I always just thought, like, Raoul is this guy, and I was like, okay, they know each other somehow, but I don't really understand how. Like,
Yeah.
I guess they were,
it's like in half a song that they're like, oh
you-
yeah, remember when we were kids? Anyway.
Yeah. And so you don't really get the, like, oh, they have a pre, like, made friendship. They are friends with each other. Mm-hmm. And, like, he has already liked her. So in the movie, to me, it felt like, ooh, I sort of know you and I like you because you sing good and you're hot. Like,
yeah.
I you know? And so in the book, I appreciated, like, oh, they are, like, childhood friends. Like, he has had feelings for her.
Right.
And so I did like that more.
Yeah, I agree. Well, and I think, like, with that, I liked that they're kind of young, which, like, and they kind of act like teens, which they are, because I think it explains, like, their behavior makes a lot more sense. Because, like, I feel like in the movie, and probably also in the definitely in the stage adaptations, like, you're going to have, like, adults playing these characters, because you have to, like, sing at a certain level to be able to do this, which, like, you know, I think broadly speaking, like, older teenagers maybe usually can't, or, like, don't have enough training. But their behavior in the book makes sense for someone who's like 18, 19, first time in love.
I was just going to say, you saying that they're teens just makes me think of, like, can we have a CW adaptation of the Phantom of the Opera?
Oh my gosh! Oh!
Where everyone is just a super dramatic teenager?
Oh my gosh. It is made. Oh my gosh. Yeah. Holy crap. Yes. 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 Yes, yes. Someone. It will be trash, and I will watch it, and I will love it.
Yeah.
Yeah. But let's be honest, like, I feel like the whole plot of Phantom of the Opera is total trash. And, like, the characters are trash, and I love it for that. Like, it's a pulpy novel, and, like, I think it was written, like, in installments. Like you would get, like, a chapter at a time in, like, a magazine.
Oh, interesting.
And that, I think, explains why it's like, oh, drama, cliffhanger, and then, like, the next week you tune in, and it's like, hey, it's the managers up to their shenanigans again. You're like, no, I need to know what happened to the people, the cliffhanger. But yeah, what was I saying? Oh, and the other thing that I think is better in the book than the musical is that, I mean, Raoul's kind of a little turd to Christine, because like, for sure, like, in both versions, but at least he doesn't straight up gaslight her like he does in the musical.
Oh, yeah.
Like he's definitely like, I heard a man in your room, slut. Like, and that's, like, super tacky. But at least when she's like, yeah, this spooky man kidnapped me and took me to, like, his weird underground palace, I didn't know what the heck was going on. He's like, oh, this is serious. We need to take this seriously. We need to GTFO. Yeah. Like, in the musical, he's like, that's fake. Anyway, I'm here, and I'm sexy. Look at my Brigham Young haircut. And she's like, oh, Raoul, hold me. And I'm like, what? No, what? If I told a man, like, this happened to me, and it was really traumatic, and he was like, that sounds fake, I would be like, bye, I'm blocking you. Okay, goodbye. I'm never speaking to you again. So, yeah. Yeah,
I do like, I actually, I mean, at certain points, am like, yes, Christine, please listen to Raoul. Like, please just run away right now. Or please, like, yeah, let's just, like, get our pitchforks and go, like, chase this guy.
Right.
But she's like, no, I have to sing one more time for him because he'll be really sad if I don't. I'm like, excuse me, ma'am, he kidnapped you. Like, why? Right. You don't owe this man anything, and he has stinky death hands.
Yeah, and I think maybe some of that is, I think the intention, this kind of idea of, like, this, because I feel like kind of the moral at the end that the author gives, which I actually think is very good, is that, like, he says something along the lines of, like, Eric could have been a great man, and, like, he could have been really successful in society, but everyone saw his freaky face and his stinky death hands, and they just prejudged him, and eventually he became the thing that everyone judged him to be. And, like, there is kind of this, like, in a way, like, this angle of, like, kind of fighting against ableism, or, like, you know, fighting for people who are disabled, being like, you know, you just jump to these conclusions when someone looks a certain way, and we shouldn't. Mm-hmm. And I think that's really great. But I do feel like within the text itself, I'm like, okay, but he did a bunch of murders and kidnaps.
Yeah, see, and that's what I don't like, because I do feel like the point of it, like, the point of the story is to be like, hey, don't be mean just based off of someone's looks. But I'm like, okay, like, it's not like the Hunchback of Notre Dame, where he's, like, a genuinely nice person, and people are just mean to him because he looks a certain way. This
Right.
guy straight up murders a lot of people.
A lot of people.
And kidnaps someone. So I'm like, no, I don't care. Like, I don't care
Yeah.
that people were mean to you. Like,
Right. It doesn't
and
justify your behavior.
Yeah, and I feel like people, and I understand I am not a skeletal man. I'm not in this position.
You don't
like,
have stinky death hands?
I don't have stinky death hands, and I would say I am like a normal looking person, and no one is going to make fun of me for the way I look. So I do understand that that's like a position of privilege for saying what I'm about to say, but like, just because someone makes fun of you for something, the way you look, doesn't justify you murdering them or kidnapping people.
Yeah. I completely agree. It is more than just like people making fun of him, but yeah, like I feel like he is like discriminated against, but it still doesn't justify his actions. I completely agree. Yeah. Basically, Eric is an incel.
An incel?
Do you not know what incels are?
No.
Oh my gosh, this was like when my husband was like, "What's a furry?" Like, I was like, you know what? You don't need to know. Don't worry about it. You can.
What's an incel? Should I Google it?
I mean, I'll just explain it to you. So incels are. Incel is short for involuntarily celibate. And it's all these guys who are like #NiceGuyTM who are like, women owe me sex because I'm a nice guy. And so
gotcha.
I am celibate against my will because I don't have this or that attribute. Like, I'm not sexy enough.
Gotcha.
I don't have a big enough chin or like whatever. And therefore women hate me and I'm going to die alone. Therefore,
Gotcha.
and this is a thing that happens. They are like, well, I have to destroy everything, and like the amount of like mass shootings that have been caused by incels is staggering. So yeah, so that's incels.
And that's complete. I've never heard that terminology, but that makes sense. And when you mention, and in the book, that he kidnaps Christine but does not use that opportunity to like sexually assault her, correct me if I'm wrong, but in the movie, it feels more implied that he does sexually assault her.
Yeah, it's not clear. Well, at least in the movie, which I know is different from the like stage musical. It's like,
Yeah.
I feel like, yeah, I think it's definitely like heavily implied, but it's also like not shown. So like,
Yeah. So I mean, I don't know. It just felt so creepy to me when I watched it the first time. I was like, he definitely had his way with her because like it was creepy. But anyway, in the book, I felt like, and honestly, the whole thing at the end where he's like, "Oh, just a kiss was enough for me." Like, I feel like that is because he's like, "Oh, well, I'm not going to try and sexually assault her," or like, "Oh, I'm not actually going to like try and have a committed long-term romantic sexual relationship with this person because like I'm so ugly."
Yeah.
Like, she would be so repulsed. It's not because, like, oh, I didn't want to. It's just, like, does what I'm saying make sense?
Kind of.
Like, I don't feel like, oh, he's a good guy that didn't take advantage. I'm like, no, he just did that because he was self-conscious. Like, does that make sense?
Yes, okay, I see what you're saying. Like,
if he was more handsome, he would have just been like,
just
"Ooh,
like
you
done
want
it.
it, Christine, because I'm so hot." Like,
yeah.
You know?
Yeah. That makes a lot of sense.
So
Yeah.
I give him, like, no...
He doesn't get points
honestly,
for that.
I hate him as a character.
That's fair. That is 100% fair. I think the Andrew Lloyd Webber musical like tries to make him a little bit more sympathetic because he's hot. I think that's part of it. I think that's a big part of it. Especially like in the movie, she takes off the mask and it's like, "Oh, you just have like a rash? That's it."
Yeah, that's what. He looks like Zuko. Like, he just has,
oh my
like, a
gosh,
burn
he
over
looks.
one eye.
He doesn't even look as bad as Zuko.
No, he doesn't.
He's like,
It's just like this part of my face is kind of pink. It's just like
he's like got stung by a bee, or like.
Yeah.
Wait, do you know what impetigo is?
No.
It's like a weird rash that you get. I think it mostly happens to kids. I had impetigo when I was in like kindergarten, and it's just like a weird. It looks like all I can think when I see the Lloyd Webber musical, I'm like, I've had impetigo worse than your face, and I did not get rejected by society. I'm just like, this is not like costume department. Hello, what's going on?
Can we make him? Well, because and I don't know if we specifically said what he looks like, but in the book, he's like an actual skeleton.
Dude,
man.
yeah, he's like messed up. He's freaky.
And like it says, like you can't even see his like he just like has like sockets for eyes, and you can
That
only see
glow
his
in the
eyes in the
dark.
dark.
Dude, I wish
Yeah.
I had glow in the dark eyes. What the heck? How can I get that? Do I have to be a skeleton?
You have to be a skeleton with stinky hands. And they talk about how they say he has a death's head, which
I don't know
I'm
what that
assuming
is.
means like a skull for a face. And then he has like skeletal hands that
are
Christine
stinky.
says smell like death.
Yeah.
Which I don't know if y'all have smelled anything that's dead. It's not good.
It's not good.
So he's a stinky guy.
He should just like invest in a shower. That would really probably do a lot for him.
Okay, do you know what's the movie that I'm thinking of? I only remember this movie based off of one line from a trailer.
What?
But there's it's like this little kid and he like is the devil in this little kid's body or something like that.
Wait, is it Good Omens?
Is that it? He's like this little kid with dark hair and then he like, his babysitter like jumps off of a building or something and she's like, for you, Damien.
No. Okay, no, that's not Good Omens.
About?
No, I have no idea what you're talking about. I can try to look it up though. His name is Damien?
His name is Damien. He's like this little kid and I think he's like the devil incarnate or something like that.
Okay. The Omen? Is it The Omen?
Sure. I've never seen it. I've literally only seen this trailer and I think just remember that line.
Okay, a supernatural horror film.
Yeah, but anyway, to my knowledge, because I have not seen this movie, it's like the devil inside this little kid's body. And I'm like, at some point, I'm like, just exile this thing. Just put it in a box in a dungeon and don't let it out. Like, I don't want to say kill a child because that's terrible, but I'm like, this is a demon. Like, just kill the demon. And I'm like, Eric was born as a child, and I'm not saying kill it because it's ugly. That's not what I'm saying. But I'm like, okay, it grew up and it started murdering people. Once this thing becomes a murderer, just put it down. Just lock it away. Just exile it.
Oh my gosh.
And I know that's terrible, but I'm like, he's just he's an actual, like, monster. He's just killing so many people. He just hangs people all the time with the Punjab lasso.
Yeah. What the heck is up with that? Well, okay, also, maybe this is a good segue into, like, talking a little bit about the Orientalism in Phantom of the Opera.
Yeah, let's do that.
I will say that I think, like, there's a ton of Orientalism in it, like, the way that they talk about, like, oh yeah, Persian, well, at least the royal Persians just want to see people get murdered for fun. And pretty sure that's not true.
Actually, let's talk about, like, for beginners, let's talk about the Persian's character. And if I'm remembering this correctly, don't they say he's like super dark?
Do they? I don't remember.
I thought they did. I thought they mentioned that he has like such dark skin, and I'm like, I'm sorry, this is like part of Iran. Like they're not that dark.
Yeah, that's true.
And so I just feel like that's the concept of like anyone who has like white skin. They're like, oh, you're not from here, you're dark, or like, oh, you're not white. I have a friend. I'm not sure if I've told you this story, but I have a friend, and her boyfriend is from Iraq, and she said something about like her being white, and he was like, what do you mean? He was like, I'm white, and he like put his arm next to her. He was like, we are the same color, like why are you saying you're white and I'm not? And I find that so interesting.
Yeah, well, and I feel like Europeans too have like a really different view of like race than like Americans do, like in terms of racism. Like I feel like in some ways their racism is like even pickier than ours. Like for us it's like if you're white passing like you know, like you said, if you have like the correct like percentage of melanin, then you're just white. But like in Europe it's like, oh, you're Italian, that's not white. And it's like, what?
Yeah, like what do you mean?
So yeah, and so, like, yeah, there's, like, a ton of, like, cultural things, which, I mean, just, like, goes to show you how, like, fake and stupid racism is, because it's just totally, like, an artificial construct. Yeah, absolutely arbitrary. But, yeah, so, like, and also colorism is just bad. Like, I don't know, but I'm a white person, I have, like, no, like, space in that discussion, but, like, I agree that colorism is bad. But, yeah, I will say, though, I feel like the portrayal of the Persian is good. Like, I don't feel like he's like a big racist trope. Like, he's like, again, like the only like character in this book who has a working brain. Like, that's good. I like that.
They just seem to, I feel like as far as the character goes, he was one of the most likable character in the story. It's just like the way they paint Persia in the book is like this exotic, fierce, like wild land,
right,
you know?
Right.
So, didn't love that.
Which is very yikesy.
Yeah.
But I will say, I feel like that's still a problem. Like, Orientalism is still alive and well, and don't love that. Yeah. So we still have work to do. And do you want to, I don't know, do you want to do our castings?
Okay.
For hypothetical adaptation? I'm really excited to hear who you would cast.
Okay, so...
For an adaptation of this.
I don't have a do you have a casting?
Yes, I do. I thought you said you had one locked and loaded.
I do. And here's... I don't want to say what I'm about to say and then, like, shoot you down. But I was thinking of a person immediately, and I was like, oh, this person would be perfect for this hideous monster. And then I was like, that's mean. Like, I don't want to, like, out this person, because, like, that's kind of the whole point of the book, you know? Like, be nice to people. And so I was like, I don't want to put this person on blast, because they are a person too. And I'm sure this actor that I was going to say, like, is kind of known for being kind of not the typical, like, Hollywood hottie. And so I'm like, they've had enough of this.
Is it Chris Pratt?
He's Mario and the Phantom. It's me, the Phantom.
Yeah, but I mean, Gerard Butler, he's like the screaming guy from 300 in the Phantom, so like Mario fits right in.
Yeah, sure, why not?
Okay, well, no, that doesn't shoot me down, because the person I picked is someone whose specialty is playing like monsters or like playing people and wearing like a lot of prosthetics. Yeah. So, yeah, it doesn't shoot me down. Well, the person that I picked for a Phantom of the Opera adaptation, I don't know who would do the voice, because I don't think this actor does voice as much, but maybe he does, and then I guess he can do it, is Doug Jones. Do you know who that is?
No.
You will know him when I tell you what other stuff he has played. He has played the sexy fishman from The Shape of Water.
Oh, yes. Yep.
And he's also he's in a lot of Guillermo del Toro movies, actually. He's also like the faun in Pan's Labyrinth.
Oh, yeah.
And I think he's Abe Sapien in Hellboy.
Oh.
And he's done other stuff. I think he's in like one of the newer Star Trek CBS only shows that I have not watched.
Can we have Guillermo del Toro do a Phantom of the Opera?
It would be really good. And I think he would have a good take on it that would be different. And then he can indulge his love of showing torture on screen. So
yeah, what's up with that?
Yeah. I don't know.
Okay?
Is he okay? I don't know. But
okay, yeah, no, that's
anyway.
good. That's a good solid answer for who we should cast in this movie.
Especially because, like, in this version of Phantom of the Opera that I'm imagining, possibly directed by Guillermo del Toro, like, he is a stinky ghost man. Like, he is not sexy. No. He's not hot. Not he has a skull for a face, and he has glowing red eyes.
And he will strangle you. Anyone else that you would cast?
Oh, yeah, I have the whole
thing. Let's do it. Let's go for it.
I have it all. Okay. I actually have 3 for the Persian, but I'll get to him last, maybe. So for Christine Daae, so in the book, she's blonde. I feel like in all of the, like, visual adaptations that I've been exposed to, she's always, like, brunette with the curly hair, which is maybe because in the Andrew Lloyd Webber one, Sarah Brightman has, like, dark curly hair. And they just were like, okay, that's what Christine looks like. Yeah, so the person I picked, and this is, like, a very random pick, so I wouldn't be surprised if you don't know who this person is Dove Cameron for Christine.
Nope.
I haven't actually seen her in anything. Okay. I just know what she looks like. And based on that alone, I'm like, yeah, she can be Christine.
Perfect.
So, yeah, I don't know. Do you have any Christines just off the cuff?
I don't know a single person.
Who do you think can just play like a little ingenue, like just innocent and kind of dumb, and definitely a fun teen?
Meryl Streep.
Yes. You know what? Yes. Let's do that. Maybe like Anne Hathaway 10 years ago.
Yeah, like Anne Hathaway in that one Mormon movie.
Oh my gosh!
Do you ever forget that she's in that movie?
Yeah, it's so weird. It's so weird. I've never seen that movie, by the way, but I have seen the bits of it with Anne Hathaway in it. While we're de-aging people, de-aged Amy Adams would also be a good one.
Oh yeah, 100%. I'm trying to think of a single blonde actress.
Britney Spears. Oh my gosh, Spears. Can we do Britney Spears? And the Phantom is actually her dad? Like, this is actually this is a biopic. Phantom of My Life.
Oh my gosh. Amazing. Yep, there we go. Done.
Yes. Oh my gosh. Yes. Now can we do a jukebox musical of Phantom of the Opera, and it's all Britney Spears songs.
Oh, you know, I'm not again. Okay, put Britney in anything, and I am there. So you
That's
know what?
true.
This is
That's
no
true.
surprise that it
Very
is exciting.
biased. Yeah. Oh, baby, baby. Like, there's so many books. Like, You're Toxic, I'm Slipping Under.
Oh my
like,
God.
that's like when the Phantom's, like,
Oh
bewitching
my
her. Oh my
Can you
gosh.
imagine?
Michael, we have to make
Like
this
a
happen.
slow version of Toxic when she's like walking through the like labyrinth.
Yes.
Oh.
Yes.
Oh, but
Yes.
is this the best idea
Yes.
we've ever had?
Oh my gosh, this is the best thing. Oh my gosh, I'm peaking as a human being right now talking about this. This is the greatest thing ever.
Yeah.
Oh gosh, okay, yeah. So let's do that for sure. Brittany, as soon as your conservatorship is done, let's get to work.
Okay, so Brittany is Christine. The Phantom is that one guy.
Doug
Jones. And who is Raoul?
Okay, I had like a hard time with that because I really wanted to pick like someone who's like young. Because I feel like that's one thing that I liked about his character is I don't really like Raoul in the other versions. Also, I always say his name Raoul because that's how they say it in the movie for some reason, which makes no sense. Like, it's Raoul. That's like how the name is said. But everyone in the book, or everyone in the movie, the 2004 movie, are like, Raoul. But yeah, so I don't know. This one's kind of like a random one, but I was thinking like Finn Wolfhard, who plays one of the kids in Stranger Things. Like, I think he could be a good like young, and I think he's like 18.
This is the weirdest cast we've ever created.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Finn.
Yes.
I see what you're stepping in.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Good. Because I think he would be good. He could bring that young energy. I was also thinking like de-aged Michael Cera would be an interesting flavor.
He would just be so awkward.
It would be amazing. I would love that. He's just like knocking on the Christine, and then like he listens in and like like more of his Scott Pilgrim persona a little bit. Yeah. Like a little less totally awkward, but like a little like because Scott Pilgrim's a little cocky. Like
he's
that
like cocky, like unnecessarily. Well, not unnecessarily. What's it? Undeservedly cocky.
Yes. Which is like I think kind of the point of at least the movie. I guess the comics aren't this way as much. It's so good. What an underrated gem. Yeah. Okay. Now, the only other person that I have two more castings, but only one of them is serious. So for the Persian, I had like 3 different ideas. Now let's see if I can remember what they all are. So my first thought was like, if this is a Hollywood adaptation where because this is the thing Hollywood does all the time where they're like, oh, this person is brown. And this actor is brown. Never mind that, like, one of them is from India and this character is Mexican or whatever. My pick for that is Oscar Isaac.
Ooh, yeah.
Because I think, like, he's the right age and he's, like, hunky.
It's funny because that's who I was thinking. Yeah. I really like Oscar Isaac.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I love him, too. I'm so excited to see him in Dune. And also, he's, like, one of the few good things in the... I was going to say rebooted Star Wars, but I guess it's not rebooted. But whatever, the Disney Star Wars. I like him a lot. And then for like a de-aged pick / more like a resurrection pick where we go back in time would be Omar Sharif, which you probably don't know who that is. He is an Egyptian actor. Well, he's dead now. He was an Egyptian actor. He's in Lawrence of Arabia, if you've seen that.
I have not seen Lawrence of Arabia.
Okay,
I'm laughing because I just listened to a podcast where they were talking about the Sex and the City movie, and apparently one of the characters at some point in that movie says Lawrence of Arabia, more like Lawrence of my labia.
Stop! Oh my gosh.
So now I can't hear that. And like the fact that, like, I literally heard this yesterday. The fact that you brought it up today, like, how does it work like that?
Oh my gosh. Well, that's really funny. Well, Lawrence of Arabia is one of the most influential films ever made. So.
I know I have heard it several times. I know nothing about it.
Yeah, I mean, if you ever see it, you will be like, wow, this reminds me a lot of Star Wars. And there's a reason for that. Gotcha. It's because George Lucas just kind of ripped it off, which is fine. I think that's fine. And also Dune, again, the book was really inspired by Lawrence of Arabia, which if you read that book, or if you read Dune and then you watch Lawrence of Arabia, you're like, oh, I see how this is kind of Lawrence of Arabia fan fiction. And it is sort of based on true events. Well, anyway, so Lawrence of Arabia, it's this white dude from England during World War I, and he's like trying to unite the Arab tribes in Saudi Arabia, which, I mean, it wasn't Saudi Arabia yet. And Omar Sharif plays kind of, I can't remember what the character's name is. I want to say Ali? Anyway, and he's like one of the like leaders of one of these tribes, and like the two of them, they're, how do I say that this movie is incredibly gay without meaning to be? It's kind of, you know, it's like one of those things where like in movies they hate the idea of having female characters, and then it just makes all of the like male characters they wrote very gay.
Yeah.
Yes, it's like that.
Gotcha.
So Omar Sharif, like he's got a good smolder, I feel like, but he's Egyptian. He's not Iranian, but that is definitely closer than Oscar Isaac, who is Guatemalan. Yeah. And so I did pick one Iranian actor. I don't know. Do you say Iranian or Iranian? Or Persian? I don't know.
Iranian.
Anyway, I did pick one Iranian. I did pick one actor who is from Iran, or I don't know if he was born there or not, but who is Iranian. And that is Ramin Karimloo, who currently plays the Phantom of the Opera on Broadway right now. Like as the Phantom. But he would be playing the Persian.
Interesting twist.
So
Nice.
I also know nothing about him except that I know he plays the Phantom right now. I've heard him sing and is very good, and he is from Iran. So.
Nice.
You know. Yeah, so those are my 3 picks for the Persian, because I couldn't pick one.
Good, I approve. This is an all-star cast we have created.
Yes. Oh, and my last casting, and this is my joke casting, is for La Carlotta, and it is me. Let me be La Carlotta. I want to play that role. I want to do it in a community theater or something. Just let me... Look, I have the training. I have the voice. I can be dramatic. I can't act, but I can be dramatic and be a little drama queen prima donna. Like, this part was built for me. Let me be Carlotta.
Let's do it. Okay, let's do it. You'll be there alongside Brittany.
And that's why, you know, because like in the movie, the 2004 movie, it's like you hear her sing and you're like, she's fine. Like, she doesn't sound bad, honestly, to me. Like, I think probably most, like, normal audiences, people who don't listen to opera, would be like, it's opera, it sounds weird. So, of course, she's, like, a worse singer than Christine, who's not singing operatically. Yeah. But, like, now where was I going with this? There's a lot of, like, them trying to, like, force it, like, oh, isn't Carlotta so much worse at singing than Christine? And it's like, no. Yeah. But if it was me versus Brittany, like, clearly she would win. And then everyone would be like, yeah, why is La Carlotta singing? What the heck? Put Brittany in. Sing. So, let Brittany sing. I'm very excited for this film. Guillermo del Toro's Phantom of the Opera, coming to theaters 2028.
With Britney Spears and her dad playing the Phantom.
Oh my gosh. Okay, love it. Is there anything else we want to discuss about this book?
I don't know. Is there anything else you want to get rowdy about?
I don't know. Let me check my notes. Oh, you wanted me to remind you about the halo effect. I don't know what that is.
Oh, okay. So I was listening to a lot of philosophy podcasts this week, so that's why this came up.
I respect that 100%. All I watch on YouTube are like weird long video essays about philosophy.
Perfect.
So,
well, I was listening to a podcast and they were talking about cognitive biases. And one of them is called the halo effect. And a lot of corporations will use this. Shannon, give me an example of a product that you use a lot that you like.
Nothing. Capitalism is evil. I'm just kidding.
Not a single thing you're like, oh, I really like.
No, I'm sure there is something. Let me think.
Or something like that. I don't know.
I like this microphone that I'm using right now. How's that?
Okay, do you know, like, what's the... Okay, sure. Let's say that microphone... Let's say you really like that microphone and you bought it at Target.
Okay.
So the halo effect in regards to, like, corporations would be, ooh, I like this one thing from Target, so therefore Target as a whole is really good.
Oh, okay. Gotcha.
Yeah, so it's like you take this one element of this one thing and then you like spread it out in relation to all aspects of this thing.
Yeah.
And you can do that with people. You can say, and a lot of times we do this based off of looks because a lot of a lot of times it's not even on purpose, but like if you see someone from afar and you've never met them, like the only thing you have to go off of is what they look like.
Right.
That is, and like that's not necessarily a bad thing. So, but you like see this person and you're like, oh, they're really pretty and they look really clean. I bet they smell good too. And I bet they're a good singer, and I bet they're really nice, and I bet they're really smart, you know? So like this one aspect makes them in your mind, you are now biased, to think better of them.
Right.
The opposite of that is called the horn effect. So instead of a halo, you have horns, and it's like
horny
you see
effect.
this one.
You look at someone and you just feel really horny for
You
them.
get so
That's how that
horny.
works, right?
Yeah. But yeah, anyway, so you can look at someone who is ugly, so like the Phantom, for example, and be like, oh, he's ugly. He's probably stupid and mean and blah, 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 blah.
Yeah.
But like, that's not always the case. And it talks about in the end of this book how he's actually super smart. He's like an amazing architect. He like built this palace for a sultan, was it?
The shop, but yeah.
Yeah. That was like so amazing and blah, blah, blah. And then he like builds this underground labyrinth, and he's like obviously very intelligent and an amazing singer. Like a lot of times you look at him, you think he's ugly. There's like nothing good about him. And I think we do, well, no, I know we do this a lot with people, and kind of like cancel culture, which I like kind of support and kind of don't. But you're like, this person did this one bad thing, so now like I refuse everything about them. And you're like, well, they might be super smart and they might actually have like really important things to say on other, you know, like in other aspects of life. But
or maybe they just like put their foot in their mouth one time.
Yeah, which it's hard not to do, because I mean, especially we have created a culture where so many people have gotten away with doing insane, terrible things, and they have like no repercussion. So now it's like, oh, you were racist? Yeah, I will cancel you. You're probably like, every single thing about you is probably terrible, which in reality, honestly, is not true. If someone is racist, they can also be a really good singer, or also, and I'm not saying like, oh, that's okay that they're racist. That is not what I'm saying. I'm just saying like, people are multifaceted, you know? Anyway, that was kind of just like a big rant.
No.
That's all.
Yeah, no. I loved all of that. And I will agree. I'll say like the thing with cancel culture, like as a term, is that it's like basically useless, because like to some people, cancel culture means calling people out for calling someone in power out for a genuine bad thing that they did, that they are not like trying to fix. But then to another group of people, cancel culture means, you know, like basically harassing and bullying some random person on the internet because they did a tweet that was maybe not worded as well as it could have been, you know? And like, there's no differentiation between those things. And so like the term is kind of useless, unfortunately, because I think this idea of like holding people in power accountable for the bad stuff they do is awesome. But I also think that cyberbullying is bad. So But yeah, I think that's a good insight on the halo effect, because like I think also if you reverse it, like for Christine, she first meets Eric through his voice. Like he speaks to her in her dressing room and she's like, oh, he has this beautiful voice, and she like thinks all these good things about him, and there is probably this like halo effect of like, oh, he must also be handsome and smart and kind and blah blah blah, you know. And so then there is like this even more horror when she's like, oh no, he's a spooky stinky handed man and an incel, and he's gonna trap me in his weird basement forever. Like in some ways it makes the horror even worse, because like she wasn't approaching him from neutral, she was approaching him from like, you know, he's my angel of music, and then it's like, oh no, just kidding, he's a stinky handed skeleton man. Who is in fact very crazy. He's coconuts in this book. Yeah,
and I mean, like, he talks about how his mom, like, never hugged him or anything. So, like, I get that he's, like...
probably abused, essentially.
Yeah, like, he would... Yeah, he's messed up for a reason, but again, does not justify, like, murdering a bunch of people and kidnapping people.
Which is, like, actually also an interesting discussion to have, because there is... It's almost kind of similar to the cancel culture thing, where it's, like, on the one hand, people who are abused often become abusers. And, like, that's not okay. And, like, those people deserve compassion because they have been abused and you know, and oftentimes don't know how to not be abusive. But on the other hand, you can't just be like, oh, you were abused.
Oh,
okay.
yeah, it's fine.
It's fine that you murdered your wife. Like, no, it's still not okay, you know? So it's hard to, like, find that balance.
Yeah. I feel like at least we see a lot of the... like the reasoning behind why, you know, this character is the way they are. Like, I can have compassion to an extent instead of just being like, oh, you're ugly and a murderer. Like, just go die. You know? Like, I'm like, okay, I understand that you're messed up and I recognize that. Yeah. But you need to go be messed up somewhere else.
You need to go to therapy. I know they didn't have that back then, but like...
Yeah, let's do therapy.
Yeah.
Everyone, therapy is great.
Yes, agreed. Go to therapy. Figure out your life. You can do it.
Don't kidnap people.
Do not kidnap people. It's not hard, everybody.
Anything else?
I don't think
anything
I
else
have
you want to
anything.
get rowdy about?
I don't know. Let me look at my notes.
Oh, we have to rate this.
Yes, we do. Yeah, I don't have... Oh, wait. I do have one last thing I put in my notes. I want an animated Phantom of the Opera.
Okay, by which studio?
Oh, That's a good question. I hadn't thought about that. I was just thinking, like, this story is really dramatic and it's musical. It lends itself well to animation. I don't know. Part of me wants to say Illumination just because I hate myself, but... but no. Come on. Who? I don't know. I guess Laika, maybe?
Oh, yeah. I feel like if there's anything that's, like, dramatic and, like, gritty, we're just like, Laika. Give it to Laika.
Yeah. Or, like... Ghibli? Can we have a Ghibli Phantom of the Opera and make it like soft, woo? Like
so soft and just like atmospheric.
Oh yes. Yeah, I'm trying to think what other.
There would just be so many scenes of like the opera house when people are like bustling
cleaning
about
or whatever. Yes. Okay, wait, no, I want to watch that. I totally want to watch that.
I was saying that and I was like, actually, yes, please give me this.
Opera house cleaning montage? Yes, please. Holy cow.
Yeah. And you would just see, like, people, like, practicing, or, like, you would just hear people practicing in their, like, in their rooms afar off.
Yeah.
Yep.
Or, like, a 2D Phantom of the Opera. I'm not very familiar with 2D studios, to be honest. Or, I don't know. What do you think a DreamWorks Phantom of the Opera would be like?
Can Shrek be the Phantom?
Yes, he can. I was thinking more like Barry V. Benson.
Oh my gosh.
Can we have a Jerry Seinfeld Phantom of the Opera? He like takes her down and then he's like, what's the deal with airplane food? And she's like, ah! She's like being tortured.
Oh my gosh. Hey listeners, once upon a time, Shannon did a D&D campaign where it was called Phantom of the Booty Call.
Yes.
And, it was basically Phantom of the Opera.
Speaking of peeking, this is when I peaked as a DM.
Yeah, it was pretty great. And then somehow Shrek was there because I think one of our friends, like, worshipped Shrek as a deity.
Well, that was really funny because I just, like, had, like, an ogre janitor planned without, like, knowing that. And so then, I was like, oh, yeah. And then the janitor comes in and he's an ogre. And then our friend was like, I bow down and start to worship him. I'm like, all right.
Okay.
It was awesome. It was great.
Yeah, Phantom of the Booty Call was a good time.
It was amazing. Like, yeah.
I think that was actually the last time we played D&D.
Yeah, other than, like, our sad online attempts that didn't work very well.
Yeah.
Rip.
It's hard now that we're so far away.
Yeah, that too. Yeah, alas. But yeah, should we rate it? But you should go first, because I have to think about what I'm going to do.
Okay, here's my rating. I give it the Go Watch the Movie Award. Because, as I have already mentioned, I like the music in the movie. Mm-hmm. The story's the same in the book. It's just a weird, creepy guy.
Yeah.
So, like, you're not missing anything by not reading the book, and then at least if you watch the movie, you get the good music.
Cool. I like that. I'm gonna rate it 14,000 out of 20,000 francs.
Okay.
Because, or maybe 16,000. I don't know. Somewhere in there. Because I honestly enjoyed it more than I thought I would. Like, I was like, okay, this is gonna be pure garbage. And it's very pulpy and like silly at times. But I liked it. Like, it was just kind of fun, and I was just kind of like, oh, these idiots. Like, I don't know, which is kind of how I feel when I watch Phantom of the Opera now. Like, now that I'm not like a preteen who's like, I wish there was a Phantom of the Opera who loved me. Like, now that I'm a little older and I'm like, oh my gosh, all these characters are really stupid and terrible and making bad decisions, and it's kind of fun. And I feel like the book was definitely that way too, where it was just like, I don't know, just a fun time. Like, it's just a fun time. A wild ride, except for, again, all the stuff with the managers. I was like, cut most of this out. It's really boring. And I will say too, I think I will agree with you about like watch the movie, or I guess the musical, although neither of us have seen the musical on stage, but I hear that it's better than the movie. I think some of the adaptational changes that they made were really good. Like, for example, having the chandelier come down when he kidnaps Christine, because that seems more climactic to me than like just kind of in the middle, and then when she's kidnapped, it's just the lights go off. Like that was a good change that someone decided to make.
Also, seeing him in the masquerade, like the his red suit, oof, so good. Yeah,
it's true. So yeah, and what's our next month's book, Michael? Would you like to share with the class?
Everyone, I am so excited about this. Okay, so next month, as mentioned, as promised, I was going to find a tacky romance novel for us to read. Next month, so for the month of November, we are going to be reading Hot and Badgered by, what is her name? I cannot remember, and I can't look it up or it'll stop my recording. Something. But, I mean, if you look up Hot and Badgered anywhere,
it's gonna be the first
find
result.
I wanted to read the little, like, summary of the book to just, get everyone pumped, but it's so wild. Essentially, it is a romance novel about a man that can shapeshift into a bear falling in love with a woman that can shapeshift into a badger. So...
Isn't it like a honey badger, too, or just a normal badger?
A honey badger.
Yes! Good.
So get excited, everyone.
I'm very excited.
Also, for anyone who's listening that is, like, maybe nervous about listening to a romance novel because some of them can just be, like, straight porn, and I get that. I tried to find one that the reviews said wasn't just, like, explicit all the time. According to reviews, there's, like, one quote-unquote hot scene, and they said it wasn't even that great. So I'm assuming maybe that means it's not super explicit. So if it is really explicit, I'm sorry, that was not my intention. I just wanted to read a ridiculous novel about people that shapeshift into bears and badgers.
Heck yes.
Yeah. So get ready for November, y'all.
Heck yeah, can't wait.
Oh, hey. Oh, wait. No, I was going to say Happy Halloween, but that will be past.
No, it won't. This episode's coming out on the 31st.
This is going to come out on Halloween.
Yeah.
Okay, Happy Halloween, everyone.
Heck
we should have started with that.
Oh, well, what if I just take Happy Halloween, everyone? We should have started with that. Just cut that out and put that right at the beginning.
Slap it at the beginning.
Yes, I'm going to do that. I am going to do that.
Do it.
Okay, I will.
Okay.
Thanks, everyone, for listening. We'll see you next month. And remember, we're all going to die someday.
Bye, everyone.